Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dads. We are not at the same table. We're back to Zoom, but we did have an epic storyline in our gaming retreat. And I'm not going to recap it because it was too massive. So go like and subscribe and rewatch the last 3 episodes because
You're on your own.
If you like the lore from all the different games that I've run in the fantasy setting of my original world, there was massive amounts of lore dumps. So go rewatch. But anyway, you guys left a meeting with a mysterious entity with a lot of things to think about and discuss. You leave the mountain, you fly back to the camp. And I'll say that as you have come to learn, you don't fly directly back to the camp. You fly close enough and then you walk the rest of the way. So you guys kind of walk into camp. You see that the crew are rebuilding some of the tents that got smashed during the previous battle, and they're kind of trying to reset the camp and put some order into it. And you see that just beyond the kind of central campfire in the middle of the camp, you see that there's a group of them just kind of standing around, and it looks like they're all kind of circling around someone or something and looking. You can't quite see what they're looking at.
Let's go find out.
Yeah, I'll bite.
All right. As you approach, you kind of push your way through, and you get through in this circle, and you see that the crew are all looking around, and you see that one of the botanists is tending to someone who looks like they've been wounded. And the person looks small, maybe as if it's like a child. And then as you get closer, you realize something. You see that it's Estroff. And Estroff you see that his clothes are soaking wet. Several of them are torn. He has several deep wounds, probably from attacks and fighting blades, that kind of stuff. But he seems to be unconscious, but he's breathing. And they've taken like a blanket, put it kind of under his head to sort of give him a pillow, and the botanist is putting these like herbal poultices on him and tending to him.
Can I sort of mask what I'm doing here, but go up and cast Restore the Flesh on him?
You can.
Can I mutter the words of power?
Do you have medicine? Do you have the medicine power?
I do.
All right. You feel that you could go up next to the botanist and kind of take some of the poultice and begin applying it, and kind of use that as a cover for your actual casting.
Just coincidentally, can I use the medicine skill while I'm doing this, just to sort of try and get a sense of the severity of the wounds?
Yes. So go ahead and make a perception plus medicine roll to kind of diagnose his total well-being.
While Durant's doing that, can Riff will himself to use Ghost Sight? His goal is to see Estroff's spirit, see if there's any condition Estroff's spirit is in during his physical trauma.
Yes, minus off Quaff or Ghost Sight, and then make a willpower plus magic roll. What did Durant get on the medicine check?
12.
Oh yeah. So you're as you're kind of approaching, the botanist sort of recognizes you, and he kind of moves aside, and you start checking Durant. Durant has a number of wounds, all over him, gashes. Some of them have been, bandaged recently, presumably by the botanist. But he looks like he sustained an incredible critical amount of damage. And obviously was waterlogged and may have been unconscious for you're not sure how long. And you hear 2 of the men say we were down by the shore and we saw something floating and we swam out and it was this little fellow.
Any sign of the woman? Alyssa?
No, there were no others.
All right, I will cast Restore the Flesh. Can I pump some extra qua into that to heal more than 1d4 of health?
Yes. For every additional qua, you can add a dice.
Okay, I'll spend an extra qua to do two
Okay.
dice of healing, for a total of 4.
All right. You see, under the clever guise of you're applying this poultice, you see some of his wounds close. Riff, what did you get?
What was the rolls again? Willpower and what?
Perception plus, are you're casting Ghost Sight, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's make it perception plus magic.
$13. And let's try to do it at the same time so that I could see any difference from before the healing was done, Estroff's spirit versus during and after.
You see something very interesting. Estroff's spirit is intact. It is in his body. But his aura has a strange sort of sparkling around it, like a light green sort of glow around it.
Is he conscious after the healing spell?
No, he's still unconscious.
Riff speaks to the botanist nearby. Have any of you been able to make any progress on studying any of the local flora, including the samples that we brought to you? I'm concerned that with all the poisons that we've encountered on this island, there may be some poison in this guy's system.
The botanist says, perhaps that could be. He says there are certainly sea creatures that can sting and poison things in the water. He says we must carefully bring him to the tent. We should place him on a cot so we can properly tend to him. Bring him this way. And a couple of the men kind of pick up Estroff. They carry him over into the botanist's tent. They lay him on a cot. And do you guys go with to assist?
Yeah, I just kind of go along and just please take every care of him. He is our good friend and companion.
So they lay Estroff down, and the botanist has you help take off Estroff's clothes. When you do that, you notice that there are these very small puncture wounds along like the right side of his like torso, kind of along his rib cage and his stomach. And there's these little kind of black marks inside of the puncture wounds.
Who is noticing this?
Well, if you guys went into the tent with the botanist, you would see this.
So all of us, okay. Given what I see here, could I make the inference that it's poison? I mean, I think I would.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you made a successful medicine check, so I'm not going to make you roll again. So yeah, you don't know exactly what kind of creature did this, but you're fairly certain that this has some kind of element to it.
All right, then I do have Draw the Poison, so I will also cast that.
All right. Give me a willpower and magic roll. Or sorry, willpower and religion.
Okay.
I should have had you roll willpower and religion for all of your magic so far.
That's a 12.
Okay. As you kind of conduct this, you see that the little black kind of plugs that are in these holes sort of fall out, and this kind of, it's like a mix of blood and kind of a watery blood that looks a little yellowish, sort of seeps out of the wounds.
And that time, I would say that I wasn't subtle about using the magic. I just kind of did it and wasn't thinking about it, so the botanist would have seen me.
And Riff noticed that, so he's watching the reactions of anyone, like the botanist or anyone else in the tent.
So the sailors left, so it's just the botanist. The botanist kind of looks at you, but you don't see surprise on his face. You see almost like awe or wonderment. Like he's, like just genuinely like, he's like, the gods grant you great power that you heal in such ways.
They do, but it's a limited gift. Please understand, when I spend it, it is with purpose, and it is knowing that I'm giving up a part of my power to do it.
Boy, that's right. You see Estroff, his eyes open, and he looks up at you like weariness, a wince of pain, and he says, "It does indeed take a lot out of you." And he kind of like sits up on his elbows and he says, "Did anyone else make it back?"
Not that we've seen. Just one to alert us that the ship was gone.
He looks over and he sees the botanist. And he says, "I'm surely glad to see you, my friends." And then he kind of slumps back down to a laying down position. Still conscious, but just very weak.
How did you make it into the sea?
Riff steps by Durant, and he puts a hand on Durant's shoulder and goes over, puts his other hand on Estroff's forehead, and he's like, "Rest tonight, my friend. We'll talk with you in the morning. You need your rest." He doesn't actually put his hand over Durant's mouth, but it's on the shoulder. I'm not saying Durant has to stop talking. It's just what Riff does.
Oh, no. It's absolutely perfect in the scenario.
Estroff looks to you, and in Elvish, he says to you guys, "Send him away." And he kind of, his eyes dart over to the botanist.
Riff will turn to the botanist and say, could you leave us alone for a few minutes now? We have other, I like to sing for my friend, help him relax and get to sleep so he can rest well for the night, if you don't mind. It's kind of a personal song.
The botanist like nods and he's like, yes, of course, sir, yes. I'm glad to see you're doing well, my small friend. And then he nods and he walks out of the tent.
Riff pulls out his harp and just very lightly starts strumming the tune of Estroff of the Forest People. He doesn't start singing, but...
All right, as you play this musical cover, Estroff kind of sits up on his elbows again and he leans forward towards you guys, and in kind of a lower voice, he's like, "We were attacked, ambushed. A crew of what I think was pirates. But we were overwhelmed. I did what came to mind. I turned into a bear. I felt..."
Riff holds up a hand real quick, and he'd like to cast Mind Link to the others, who I think are outside. Are you guys outside or are you inside? I missed that
We're all
part.
inside.
Oh, you're all inside. Then never mind.
He says, It was a strange thing. My transformation, it felt painful, but I was able to do it. And as a bear, I tore through many of the sailors, fighting them off, trying to protect the crew and Alyssa as well. But I was overwhelmed. More and more of them came up over the decks, attacking me, and the last thing I remember was taking a heavy blow from some kind of club to my head and falling over into the water. And then I find myself here.
We are glad you are okay. Did you see what happened to Alyssa? Is she okay still?
I don't remember. I was hoping that she and perhaps some of the other crew would have made it back. But I fear the worst. There
One
was
crew made
something
it
else. There was something else, my friends. Some other kind of person was with the pirates. He wielded magic.
Can you describe him?
There was great wind from nowhere, seemingly, that pushed at the sails, taking the ship out to sea. It was so dark, and as you have come to learn, the dark vision that I once possessed in the other world did not work here. I wish I had seen more, but I only saw this robed figure.
Did you hear it making any sound? Detect any voice?
He spoke in a tongue that I did not recognize, but I feel like he was speaking words which were making the magic obey him.
Did you see his face?
I did not. He was far, near the helm of the ship, as I was trying to fight against the pirates.
You remember the sound of words.
I could not hear them well. There was too much yelling, too much sound of battle.
Could you get a sense of the color of the robe?
I did not. It was dark, I know that. Perhaps black, brown, some other dark color.
These pirates, a strange question, but were they alive? Or were they undead?
They were alive.
Is it the same person?
I am certain that I wounded many of them when I was fighting them as a bear. Perhaps even killed a few.
Did they try to bite you?
No. They brandished weapons, though they looked very scraggly. Their clothing was very worn, and several of them were very thin-looking and desperate.
Feel like there's a side quest that we could have gone on and should have gone on, and we didn't, and then this is the price that we have paid for not following the story.
Let me
So
just
we have 3
throw a
days.
let me just throw a little word out there. Choices.
Our choices is we have 3 days. We met another magic user, maybe even
Sure.
more powerful than a magic user.
On this island?
Yes.
In the camp?
No. We... It is a long story. We went to the spiritual realm through some of our friends' magic here and flew. And we saw him, and he had, in the spiritual realm, he was just a black, like, cloud oozing. And he gave me the weirdest vibes. I don't trust him at all. But he wants us to go into his cave, find an orb, and release him. He also wouldn't tell us his name. And some of, I think, the gods that people have talked to here said names can be very powerful.
Can I do something with perception probably perception and social manipulation to see if anything seems off about Esteroff?
Yes.
Well, I have 0 in social manipulation, so it's just the 4 for perception. Which is 9.
Astroff seems like himself, but you do notice something else. As he's reacting to all this news that Tuco's telling him, he runs his, like when people are just overwhelmed or frustrated, they just like run their hand through their hair. As he does that, you notice that his ears are not pointed. They are round.
And I do not want to go on this guy's quest into the cave. I do not trust him. My idea is to see if we can find other ideas how to find out what his true name is, because that is the only thing he was afraid of. And maybe we can... I think this is a different person. He said that he was not involved in the stealing of the ship. And everything we've had said whatever he told us was true, but I still do not trust him. So I think we need to find out who stole the ship, this other magic user, and what's up with that.
I
We have 3 days.
I do not trust him either. I think he bears a resemblance to what would be a devil where we're from. I do not trust any contract that he offers, but I think our best way to survive is probably to enter the cave and to retrieve the powerful artifacts there and use those artifacts against him.
I'm afraid once we start accepting his gifts, we will be more and more within his power. It's not us earning these gifts, it's him kind of giving them to us.
Perhaps we should ask some at the camp here about what the Lan, Kai, and Kapu are.
I think that we are definitely going to have to earn whatever we go into the cave to find. I mean, told us there's a series of difficulties and challenges that await us. I don't think this is purely walking in and picking up a gift wrap box for us.
Every choice we make here
Has
will be a
consequences.
difficult choice.
I do have one plan, guys, that I'd like to run by you. One chance, perhaps, at getting the true name out of this thing.
Should we be having this conversation here and now?
We are by ourselves.
Well,
But
fair question.
we could probably have this conversation not on land.
I mean, are we mentally linked? Can we just... I thought we did that. My bad.
Could do it.
We could do it, yeah.
Make it so! I will use my... I got 4 in mental. Let's do this. Mind link, or... Yeah, mind link.
Are you including Estroff in the mind link?
Yeah, why not? We'll give him a cameo.
Okay.
Who used mind links, by the way?
It'll be me.
Okay. Presumably we'll get to sleep and get all our claw back before we head up there.
I would hope so.
So that's 8 qua?
No, come on. 8 qua for...
Yeah, because we're talking... Well, you can connect one individual for 3. We're talking about connecting 4 additional.
Sure.
So that sounds
I can do it. I have exactly 8 claw left, and I probably won't need to.
Well, then
Go
it
for
was
it.
7, right?
Okay.
I think it's 7, yeah. It
Right,
comes
well,
out
I
to be
have-
7.
1 for fun left over. Alright.
Okay.
Alright, so yeah. So we're mind linked. And Riff will run over his short plan. So apparently there can be something good to knowing a creature's true name, from what I'm learning here. Have any of you heard that from anyone? Pretty sure I remember hearing that from a Kai I spoke with earlier.
Something good?
So
Something-
would Durant have known this specific piece of lore from from where we came from? Because it seems like something religious scholars would probably know, but I don't know that Durant specifically would know it.
That is a fantastic question. To recall that knowledge from before in terms of how it would have worked in the realms, I'm thinking perception plus religion.
Okay. How many for religion? 2. Okay. $15.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you know that particularly when it comes to devils and demons, that the knowledge of true names is very powerful. That it is a requirement in the summoning and domination of those things. You, I think, would also infer that this could translate as well to celestials.
But how would we find out this true name?
Well, I haven't gotten that far yet, but I can share. It's a very short plan. Basically, and I would want to enlist one of your charges from your necklace, Durant, for Mind Shield, correct?
Yes.
Is that what it does?
But if you use the Mind Shield, then you're going to cut us off from Mind Share.
From Mind Link?
Yep.
Well, here, let me just say the plan. So basically, I was going to approach it. Let me speak first as we, walk up there. I'll have Mind Shield on, and Ghost Sight I will put up, and then I'm going to basically get it to focus on me. And I mean, it's going to be doing that anyway. It's probably going to be focusing on all of us. But basically, in the hopes that the one, Upai Vasei, hoof, right?
Nailed it.
Finally, has authority over this creature. I'm going to get it to hearken to me in the name of the one, command it to tell me its true name.
Ooh.
I figure it's worth a shot. I shouldn't have, meta moment. I just said that in front of Bill, the game master.
Bill's the worst, and he's just gonna throw this in
know.
our face. So, I
So if there were a chance to break the game, it would happen. Anyway, back
High
to the
risk,
character.
high reward. I mean, he could.
So, because here's my thing. Because I think and Durant already had a great idea to try to get his true name before when the guy or the thing was about to sign that contract, right, Durant? I remember that. We were going to see his name, if we could pronounce it. But anyway...
You wanted him to sign first. That was clever. I like that.
Yeah, and he was going to. We must have talked too fast for that thing to handle. Anyway, if we can get its name, I'm thinking we can get information, like tell us how to defeat the evils inside, or something that's really going to help us, which if you think about it, if we're going to help him, he should do anyway, because we'd be helping him. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't he help us help him?
Can we do that without?
Here's the thing. If you know the name of a devil, you can dominate it. You can make it subservient to us. Is that risky? Yes, very much so, and I don't trust it. But at the same time, it is a way to guarantee peace and survival.
But do we need to go to him to do that?
Could we not just mind
you and Durant do it together?
I mean, could we not just approach this with a mind link? Does it need to be a physical approach?
Approach what with a mind link?
Mind link to the devil itself, the lawn.
Can't we just ask him to be cool?
I feel like if it sees us approaching, it's already going to be at ease, if that's even a thing, to it, that here we come. It's like, yes, they're going to do it, and we're going there anyway. So I'm not sure if you can think of a benefit that through Mind Link, share away. Otherwise, I think let's just do it in person.
What happens if it doesn't work?
At least we
Are we fighting?
distance.
Are we fighting then,
No,
or
then he laughs at us,
Wow.
and then we're go back to square one.
I'm not sure yeet from Master Humblebottom will be so effective. What did you see, Durant, around him? You saw it was protected
He
by
has lots
something,
of protective wards.
right?
were those wards on the cave, or were they on him?
They
That's a good
were
question.
in the circle.
They were in the circle. Okay.
But were they meant to bind him?
Oh my god! Could you imagine if that's all it took? I just yeet him and he goes outside the ward against his will, and then like disintegrates. And that's like the end of Bill's like 8-year, beautiful thought out character.
Yeah. No, I really don't want to fight this thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go well for
I don't
us.
think it's gonna go well.
The other thing I'll say, and then I'll be done, is I think you all probably recognize it can use magic, even though it's sort of bound here. So it says, right? We saw what it did, which means if we go in there and we come out with the orb that it wants, and we start to then try to bargain with it, what's to stop it from seeing it, mage handing, and just poof, it's gone before we can even do or say anything else.
So I still want to advise
Perhaps they're-
caution. We have 3 days. Why not go and find out this other magic user? And if it gets to 2.5 days and we haven't finished that quest, then we go. We're out of options at that point. But we can at least find more options or knowledge in the intervening time.
Sorry, which magic user is that, Tuco?
The one that took the ship that
I have no idea how we're gonna find. I
That
don't even know where to
yeeted,
begin.
that
for
yeeted
one.
across the sea somewhere.
Yeah, I think they're gone.
Yeah, if you can think of a good way to
we
do
gotta
that,
find
I'll
out how to
listen.
find the ship. Yeah.
We can go back in time. There's things that we can do to get some clues, but I don't know how we're gonna. I feel like any of us are good enough to transport ourselves way across that far distance.
Anyway, that's my plan, and I do have one last thing if that doesn't work, but I'll save that because I feel like this should work.
He just doesn't want to say it in front of Bill. I don't blame him whatsoever.
I feel like conversing with our deities might give us insight, and
I think
conversing with the people around camp to get the legends of these types of beings might also help.
Also, it's been a while since the ship left. Could someone scry and see if it's arrived somewhere that we could then have a destination to go to?
Seems a reasonable request, Master Humblebottom.
Let's see what I can do. How'd I do this?
Riff looks outside the tent, checks the time of day, see what people are doing.
Yeah, has it been very long since the ship was taken?
Yeah, it's been like a full. Well, let's think. You guys. It's been at least a day.
Okay. Because
So it's late afternoon.
Humphrey did it when he was flying out trying to chase it, and
Yeah.
he couldn't see it, or at least saw it, but it was still moving. So
I have a connection to the object, so I have a first-hand connection to the object. So I should be able to do this. But
Couldn't you just scry on Alyssa?
I don't know her very well.
How much quad do you have?
I don't remember. That's the problem. I don't know why you go. I looked at this and it tells me my current quad. Oh no, never mind. I lied. I have 20.
Okay, so the problem is the range. It's not so much that you know the ship or that you even know like Alyssa if she's on the ship. It's the range. It's how far away it is.
it was miles.
What if I blow my quad? Like I just do full dump.
That is a good question.
and I can totally roleplay it. I'd be like, guys, I think I can do this, but you're asking me to basically send my magic, or send my thoughts out across the entire world as we know it, farther than we know it. This will take everything I have for today.
I could send you in spirit only, and you can fly.
What level of spatial magic do you have?
Spatial, I have 2.
Yeah, you can't reach that far.
Energetic, material, and mental, I have 4. Okay.
So mental, you might be able to make a mental link with
Blingo? No, what do we do with Blingo?
Alyssa?
No, with Alyssa.
Yeah, Alyssa, yeah.
If only Blingo were here, he would know what to do.
Yeah.
Have we tried
fair.
reaching back to see if we can contact anybody from our previous life?
You
No, I
have
don't
not.
think so.
You have not tried that yet.
I'm just gonna
So here's
Signal.
what I'm looking up actually, just to see if this is even remotely possible. So the distance, if I exponentially, like if you blew through all your quad, I'm trying to figure out if you could actually even cover this distance or if it's beyond that. So you're level 4 mental. No.
Can I combine it with some? Does anybody have spatial?
Have we ever tested how fast you can fly when you're in the spirit realm? Or is it assumed to be the same as the
But
physical
all
realm?
we know is east, even if we could do it.
Yeah, it's the same. So your mental, not even your, if you boosted your spell, and I multiplied your maximum range. If I basically went exponential, it still wouldn't reach how far away they are.
Same thing with trying to contact Alyssa.
She gone.
Well, that's what I mean. He doesn't have spatial magic nearly high enough to scry the ship, so it's only mental to reach Alyssa. But even his mental at 4, if he blew through, I'm trying to multiply out how many if he boosted his qua. 480 times
You'd have to roll a 60.
4,800 feet is not even a mile. Nope. So you cannot mentally find her.
Well, shit.
Well, it was a good thought.
Was.
So I guess we're back to talking to the gods and talking to the people about history of...
How much do we want to reveal to
Want to learn more about the island?
Edward specifically?
Oh, we could tell Edward. I don't have a problem with that.
He's not going to be telling the rest of the crew.
We don't want everybody to panic. In fact,
So
that would be the worst thing.
Yeah, we'd have to tell Edwards by himself.
Yep.
And he's kind of... The responsibility of the camp is on him, so he kind of has a right to know. And, if in 3 days he's going to send the zombies, he needs to be starting to prepare a defense now.
Well,
Bear
we
in
need to make a
mind-
decision first.
You guys discovered how those giant skeletons came to attack the camp, but you did not reveal anything yet to Edwards or any of the crew about that. So all they currently know is that last night they were attacked by a group of giant skeletons, which has left them very unsettled.
But I think we could reveal that to Captain Edwards by himself, and then let him make a decision of how to best to go forward for the camp.
Yeah, I'm not telling you how to adjudicate it. I'm just saying you guys know a whole lot more about what happened, why it happened, and from who than they do Right now, everything is unknown to them.
Brother, can you take care of letting Edwards know about what we've discovered?
Yep, absolutely. Even though he's not the Captain Edwards I once knew, I've come to realize, and obvious to everyone else, I do feel a connection with him. So I'd be happy to do that.
I feel like I need to spend some time at the shrine.
Estroff now chimes in, I guess over the mental link. I am quite concerned about the things that you are discussing, my friends. You seem to have stumbled onto many intricate and delicate matters. I must rest, that I might regain my strength and help you.
I suggest that we go and talk to the people around, find out if they know anything about this sort of stuff. I suggest that we make the decision that we're going to go in to go get the whatever items that can help us, and crossing our fingers hoping that we find something that can help us defeat the devil while we're in there. But after we've made our decision, I suggest that we go and tell Edwards then, this is our plan and this is what we're doing, and then we go forth and do it. That's my straw man I impose into the group.
That's fair. Riff rummages through Estroff's backpack, hoping it's here, and finds it's not here. So there's no.
He literally just had the clothes on him, not even any weapons.
Estroff, where is your wine bottle? Your amazing wine bottle.
I can only assume it is on the ship with the rest of my belongings. Likely being enjoyed by those pirates.
Maybe they drink themselves to death.
Just rest, my friend. We will cross that bridge when we get to it, because although you would be our powerful ally as always on this mission, the camp here is going to need a lot of help too. So we need to think some about that.
Have no fears, my friend. I will simply sleep for 8 hours, and in the morning I'll feel fine and be completely healed of all my injuries and wounds. And just
I think,
but your ears will still be round, my friend. And Riff shows him his ears.
Estroff reaches up and feels his ears, and he's like, what just happened?
I think things in this world don't work the same as in ours.
That
might take you a little longer to recover than you expect.
So it would seem. Well, keep me informed, my friends, but I will take my leave and rest. He kind of pulls the blanket up on the cot over himself and sort of like turns on his side. You guys depart from the tent, presumably. And when you walk out, you see the rest of the crew is kind of dispersed. They're all working on different things to kind of refortify the camp. And you notice that they have brought over more trees. And they are sawing trees and beginning to kind of assemble barricades. And you see Edwards walking towards you guys. And he approaches and he says, "My friends, tell me that you were able to discover something of the nature of what happened last night."
Can we talk in private?
Yes, come to my quarters. He walks over to the large tent. There's no one in there. He invites you to sit down on a few crates. He says, what were you able to discover? In short, I'm not going to make you role play this all out, but just tell me, how much of this do you share with Edwards, in summary?
I would think he knows that we were going out to find the source of the skeletal giants, right?
Yes.
Skeletal giants. So I would let him know we found that, and we found their graves, and that we believe quite strongly that we've secured other graves that we found so that they will not be able to attack again.
So we're
And
not
that
going to tell them about what's happening in 3 days? In the
Yeah, I
mental
thought we
link?
I thought we were going to tell them.
Right, I missed that part. Well, that's how Riff starts out, and then
Okay.
you guys pick up from there.
I go back to what I said earlier, which was that's what I think the plan should be. I think we should agree that we're going to go in there to try to get things to fight and get rid of the devil. And I know Tuco's not going to be a big fan of this, but we'll see if we can convince Tuco. But then we tell Edwards that this is the plan, and he can choose what he tells his men.
We can tell him that, and then we can say there's a possibility we won't come back because he's very powerful. If we don't come back, this could happen.
That's what he's up against. Yeah, then that's what he's up against. He needs to know.
And adding Edwards, do you or anyone of your crew here know and/or have possibly any historical documents on hand that talk about the One or Upai Vasei Hoof? I would really be interested in reading up on, or even listening to lore, lore keepers.
More generically, the Kai, the Kapu, or the Lan.
Any and all of the above.
We did not. The expedition did not bring any priests or any acolytes, which I think now was lacking in foresight. Had we known of such mystical events on this island, it would have been wise to bring some learned folk and perhaps those who were invested by the gods. He says, I can tell you only the most basic things that I know and that most educated folk and even commoners might know. Upai Vasei Hoof. That is an interesting way to pronounce that. I've heard it pronounced Upai Vasei Hoof, and even Upai Vasei Huff.
That was probably me yesterday.
Depending on what region in Arakazine you're in, it's pronounced in different ways. To my knowledge, very few, at least in the Midlands or the Lake and River region, very few folk adhere to that old god. I believe, though I have not traveled there very much, that the folk in the country, the countryside, mostly in the Old Dominion, to the north of Eimphis, that the folk in the Old Dominion, that there are still adherents to Upai Vasei Hoof.
Okay, but the company that sent you was basically backed by the company and sages, right? They're the ones who sent you out on the expedition, which would make sense.
Yes.
Because you've got the magic of the sages, which to them is the all-powerful, end all be all means versus maybe a priest or an acolyte.
Yes. Well, I would say that their focus being more on the resources that they wished to discover and potentially invest in made that decision kind of their priority. He says most of the people in the Midlands region in both Eimphis and Zuephis tend to venerate a variety of the gods that are familiar. Certainly Yasak Hog being one of the older gods, a god of wind in the sky. Certainly Peshwick, the goddess of earth and life and birth. Shias Joel, the water god, is amongst my profession certainly one who is very venerated, being that most sailors and captains will make offerings and say prayers prior to a voyage to venerate Shias Joel and beseech him to bless their voyage on the sea. Of course, the laws of both the kingdom of Eimphis and Zuephis, and frankly most of the laws in the legal system throughout the region of the Midlands and the Lake and River region stem from the teachings of Sho-O Moon, the god of law and life. Certainly that would be another god that is venerated. There are many others in the pantheon. Soldiers and warriors pray to Zishuf.
Gotcha.
There are some who, I would say, gamblers, performers. Sometimes even thieves, rogues, pirates will sometimes pray to the Zofupai and venerate them. And of course, though it tends to be mysterious, there are temples as well to Savak Boku.
And at that mention, Riff is like fascinated and turns to look at Durant and realizes that Durant is actually not here. And he had mentioned going to go to one of the shrines, I think, to pray. So Riff's like, Durant, did you get all that? You would love this. Voice trails off because Durant's not there. But thank you, Edwards, for that. Very interesting. I had no idea there was such a pantheon of gods here.
Are there any lore about anti-gods? Evil people would pray to for power and riches?
He says, well, I'm bear in mind I'm not a scholar, but there is
just rumor. Even
there's known history, of course. It is believed that the Kemrog had their own gods, and the people of Arakazine perceived their gods, and frankly the entire race of the Kemrog, as fundamentally evil by the manner that their civilization was established, in the ways in which they subjugated the entire peoples of the continent of Arakazine, the cruelty with which they lived. Their gods are unknown to me. I do not know the names of their gods, save one, which everyone knows because there's a desert named after him, or it, which is in the south, in the Southlands. There's a desert called the Cradle of Zildar. Zildar is the name of one of the Kemrog gods. As for other evil entities, the Demon Wars were a time ages ago, but there is one who is known to be the impetus for the Demon Wars. His name was Nezrak. He was said to be a man, but a man who had unlocked the ancient and arcane magic of the Kemrog and wielded it with great power, such that he nearly destroyed Arakazine. He unlocked the secrets of life and death. He was able to summon and control demons. He was able to awaken the dead and make them do his bidding.
This sounds like our guy.
It says Nezrak and the Nezrak was destroyed at the end of the Demon Wars, as was the western coast of Arakazine. Many attribute the defeat of Nezrak to a great ritual that summoned Shias Joel to consume the western coast and destroy it with waves that were said to be as tall as the sky itself.
Oh, who summoned him for that?
I do not know the history.
No, the name that you just mentioned.
The
that helped
god of
destroy-
Shias Joel, the god.
Shias Joel.
He says, Tuco, you inquired about the Celestials. You mentioned the Kai and the Kapu and the Lan.
Yes.
Says,
We are not from here, so this is all new to us. Maybe just different words, or...
He says, again, I'm not a holy man, but the Celestials were the creations of the gods. They were created to serve the gods. And the God Wars are the stuff of myth. Whether they actually happened or not, nobody knows. But during the God Wars, it seemed that there was division, and the gods themselves warred amongst themselves, using the Celestials as their armies against each other. And to some degree or another, some of the Celestials were said to have stayed loyal to the gods, others opposed the gods, and some fell in between. Which ones amongst the Kai and the Kapu and the Lan, I do not know. I'm not a holy man.
What is the difference between the Kai, Kapu, and Lan?
They are said to be...
Are they all Celestials, or is there like a ranking?
They are all Celestials, but they said to be with different investitures of power and with different demeanors and with different agendas.
So they're all basically the same, but are tasked to do different things.
I believe so. To my knowledge, I'm not clear on who does what. But yes, I believe it's something like that.
Thank you.
There are stories, certainly, of the gods sending these Celestials as emissaries to the aid of those who beseech the gods, but I have never witnessed such a miracle. I don't know anyone who has, but I've heard stories. He says, so after you guys explained to him the whole situation with the man at the mountain, he seems deeply concerned, and he says, I had already ordered the men to begin constructing more barricades around the perimeter of the camp, but I fear that if foes such as the giants were to return in even greater numbers, that no amount of barricades or defenses would prevent them from destroying us. He says, what can we do? We have no ship. We're stranded here.
Durant is not here.
He says, do we move the camp? Do we head further south to those plains that you discovered in your explorations? Do we risk moving the camp? Will we face other challenges and threats?
I am not sure, but...
He's like, consult with your friends and let us, before nightfall, let us reconvene here in my quarters to discuss. We should have some kind of plan in place.
Either run, or we're going to have to find a way to fight.
If we run, we abandon many of our resources that we brought here, which would be, I think, dangerous. To try to move all of the barrels and crates and all of our other supplies is going to take quite an undertaking, given the fact that we don't have horses, we don't have wagons, we don't have a means of moving that stuff. It's going to be an undertaking. He says, my instinct is that we need to stay and bolster our defenses, but let us reconvene tonight.
I think building the defense is the only really option. Because you're probably going to have to take people off of hunting and foraging duty to build up the defenses, but at least here you have your supplies from the ship that will last us a little while, and we're either going to be successful against this being or we're not.
Says, I have already pulled in everyone to focus on supporting and bolstering the camp, so we will do our best.
I think that is the best option.
He nods. So he gets up and he walks out and starts going and kind of coordinating things with the men. All right, Durant, what were you doing? And then I'll go to what Humphrey was doing.
Okay, so Durant will have gone to the shrine.
Okay.
And he does intend to pray to Savak Boku, but first a question would be, with a 3 in spiritual magic, would Durant have an understanding of how to consecrate ground?
Yes.
My thought would be to consecrate the ground around the shrine, at least for now, just as an experiment to see how it works. Because it's not something Durant maybe will have done in the past.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Small area of effect, so why don't you minus off 3 qua?
Okay.
And then make me a willpower plus religion roll.
So nothing below a 2. 12, 15, 17.
Oh yeah. So I'm going to say with those additional steps over the target number, you feel very confident that you could expand this, and you consecrate the ground in a large radius around the shrine, like a 30-foot radius. No, let's say 60-foot radius. So the area around the shrine and even the perimeter of the camp. You also feel like if you were to channel enough qua and enough time, that you could expand this and include the camp in the umbrella of your consecrated ground.
I would like to do that. I don't know if I can do that now.
Okay. So
it depends on time.
Yeah. So you feel the ground is consecrated in your immediate area. You conduct prayers.
Yeah.
What is the gist of the prayers that you are making?
So the gist of the prayers would be to Savak Boku, and the idea would be reaching out to Savak Boku to see if there are places in the nearby vicinity to learn more about the Lan and this choice that's being presented.
Okay. Make a perception plus religion roll. it occurs to you that you were given discernment about some of the symbolism of Sabak Boku. As your mind, kind of in a meditative state of prayer, begins to think about this, what does Durant recall about the depictions or symbolism of Sabak Boku?
Oh boy, gotta put me on the spot here. My recall isn't what it used to be. So I'm gonna say I remember that the symbol is somewhat similar to Daenerys in the fact that it has an eyeball, a candle, and light being cast. It's the order of the symbols. It's different from what I remember.
Yeah, so you are certain that the symbol of Daenerys is a lit candle above a purple eye with a triangular pupil.
Yes, okay. I mean, I could just look at the holy symbol, right? Because it's changed to be that of Sabak Boku.
Right. Your impression of the holy symbol is that there are three sort of pyramidal shaped shapes with a sun over one of them, an eye over the other, and a moon over the third.
Okay.
And as you are thinking about this and actually looking at this depiction, you think about something that's very similar. And it occurs to you that where you found the entity who was the cause of the undead giant skeletons being animated, you found him in a trio of mountains, specifically at the center of those three mountains. You also remember that in your discussion with that entity, that you were mentioning gods, and he was talking about loyalty and the gods, and he mentioned that Sabak Boku wasn't so bad.
Okay. I do recall that.
And all of these kind of clues and pieces of information swirling around in your mind are effectively the answer that you receive.
Is our mind link still up? Are we still sharing all of this?
I'll say that Riff spent one additional qua to extend the duration of the mind link. So he is now empty.
Funny, so does that mean
Poor
I've been
Estroff
doing
is
everything?
Poor
Does that
Estroff is not getting any sleep.
No.
Does that
Well,
mean Durant
you
is
cut it off.
Does that mean Durant is aware of everything that's been said in the tent as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, from a meta perspective, it's just easier instead of splitting the party for you guys at this point to because you would share this information anyway, right? So everything that you know, Tuco and Riff and Humphrey talked about with Captain Edwards, and Durant is now ruminating on and consecrating the ground. Like, you guys are aware enough.
So is the cave itself also at the center of the three mountains, or is it sort of like more toward one of the mountains than another?
No, the cave is at the center mountain. So
Okay.
there's three mountains. The central mountain, the cave opening of that central mountain is where you found him.
Okay. And looking at the symbol of Savak Boku, the center mountain is devoted to what symbol?
In your symbol, like if you're looking at it, above the left mountain is the sun. Above the central mountain is the eye, and above the right mountain is the moon.
Okay. I will reflect on that for a while and sort of allow whatever Humphrey's doing to happen.
Okay, Humphrey, what have you been doing?
Humphrey's just Humphrey made up his mind a long time ago, so he's just waiting for everybody to get through their stuff.
What is Humphrey thinking about?
He's hungry.
Okay, question 3. To what degree, and this is actually going to be a question for all of you, on your character sheet are your principles. And when you converted your characters as they traveled transdimensionally to this place, you assigned different values to these different principles. One of those principles is the principle of piety.
Not important.
To which, yeah, that's the degree to which you have like faith in the gods, basically.
Crucial.
Tuco was not important at all, but I would say that has started to change since he came here.
Okay, now that is from a meta perspective. That's one of the things. It's one of the reasons why I created the principles, is because in the course of a game, in role playing and your character's development, your character's levels of value to those different principles may change, right? So if, to take Tuco as an example, let's say originally, Tuco was not particularly pious, but having seen what you've seen and learned what you've learned, if you feel that your character would naturally have shifted, you may now shift one of those or more of them by one level. So you can't go from not important to crucial to character identity, but you can go from not important to somewhat important, for example. So that is something that does matter.
Not just in piety, but for any of them?
For any of them. So, yeah. So, for example, let's say in the course of a game that originally your character was, honesty was very important, and then through multiple adventures, you've just found your character lies a lot or uses deception a lot. Maybe it's somewhat important. So maybe that goes down, or another thing goes up. So you may shift those things, but where your character's principles are does have an impact on the game, which I have been enacting this entire time. So back to Humphrey, as your piety has not really been a significant motivator for you, what does Humphrey think about the entity at the cave? Does Humphrey think that this person is a devil, as you have?
Humphrey doesn't know. He doesn't have a concept of a devil. He doesn't know what a devil is. So he doesn't know it by any sort of name. He doesn't trust. He doesn't trust the character, even though like everything that he said is true. Humphrey is smart enough to sort of get the lawful nature of the entity, right? So everything, the crystal ball says everything is true. Very much a let's make a deal sort of guy. So Humphrey thinks that the devil's in the details, if you will. And pun intended. So Humphrey thinks that the only way out of this is to give him what he wants, or to fight him. Because if we stay around here, we're dead, and everybody's dead. So Humphrey's thoughts really are just, if he said he was going to get us the hell out of here, and he wasn't going to mess with us, and come back and kill us and all this other stuff, which is what he said. Humphrey's thought is just give him the freaking thing he wants so we can move on with our lives. However, he recognizes that it's probably not in the best interest of everything, so he's prepared to, do the needful and fight the fight with his party if needed.
Okay.
But he's ready to go. Like, he doesn't see a way out of this. The decision's very clear in his head. We need to go into that cave.
Okay. You feel like in your backpack, you feel like a warmth, like almost hot, like where the crystal ball is.
Well, that shouldn't be happening. Did I leave my crystal ball on? And goes.
You dig it out?
Yeah, of course.
It is hot to the touch, not burning, but hot. And you notice that it has become not so much glass as very dark gray, and you can't see into it. It's almost like a solid gray orb.
Well, the good Bill giveth and the good Bill taketh away. I enjoyed my crystal ball while I had it, so oh well.
What do you do with it?
Put it back in my bag. I mean, if it's solid gray, I mean.
Okay. It continues to be hot.
Okay.
Okay, Durant, you finish up your various things at the shrine. What's next?
Were we still mind linked while that hot crystal ball action was going on?
Hot crystal ball action. That should be a song title, Riff. That's your
right.
For next week. You have to work on a song called Hot Crystal Ball Action.
From the trans-dimensional anomalies.
Yes. Yeah, presumably your mental link was still up. Do you leave the shrine and go over to?
Yeah, I'll meet up with Humphrey.
Okay.
And I'll say, I couldn't help but notice that you had some hot balls there.
Jesus Christ.
It's actually
just ball.
It is a single hot ball.
It is a single hot
Durant.
ball, yes.
That is your real name, yes.
May I look at it?
Okay. Takes his hot ball out and hands it to Durant.
Okay.
Durant gently cups it and takes a look.
Durant, make a perception plus magic roll.
Ooh, that's a lot of dice for me. Wow. Okay. And I did not roll particularly well. 4, 8, 12.
That's really well. The crystal ball looks totally normal to you, and it doesn't feel hot.
Oh. I don't notice the heated sensation here. Do you still feel it as being warm?
Bill, is it still warm?
Humphrey, if you touch it, it still feels warm, and when you look at it, it's completely gray, and you can't see into it. Durant, when you look into it, it's glass, like you could see right through it.
Yeah, it feels warm and it can't, looks like it's gray. Can't see through it. It seems like it's off. It might not be working anymore.
Could I do something with spiritual magic here?
Yeah.
Could I maybe... Because I don't have Ghost Sight as a spell. Would I know enough to do it as a spontaneous effect?
What spirit do you have?
Spiritual magic for me is 3.
Oh yeah, you could do it.
Okay. Then I will.
Okay.
Is that just one qua?
No, it's 3.
Okay. Okay. So I will do that and look at the crystal ball.
Okay. Make a willpower plus magic roll.
Much better. 19.
Wow. Okay. As you kind of shift your vision into the spirit world, you see that the crystal ball looks solid gray, and you could barely see through enough to see that there's a swirling gray smoke inside of it. And it kind of radiates a red aura.
Okay, red aura. Have we seen anything else that radiated a red aura recently?
No. Definitively no.
Okay.
You also sense, as you're looking at this, you could see that it's imbued with qua. You can see that it's imbued with qua. You can even identify some of the magic types associated with it.
Okay. Which are?
Well, that's where I need to know what your magic types are.
Not a lot. Corporeal, energetic, mental, spiritual.
Okay. So certainly you notice the spiritual magic imbued in it and mental magic. But there's something else in addition to that.
Okay.
Riff, what are you doing while Humphrey and Durant are looking at the crystal ball?
Riff is kind of been left alone in his thoughts and is just kind of watching, and it's a new feeling for him being sapped of qua for the first time, and so he's just trying, I guess he's trying to reach out similarly with Ghost Sight, but with no qua, and see what happens.
Okay.
Foolishly.
Yeah, you feel that you've exerted your will so many times that you just can't harness that control over the magic.
Yeah.
Tuco, what are you doing?
So if I heard this still through the mental link, I would say, Master Humblebottom, this last worked when we were in the presence of that being and you asked it about if it was telling a lie. Maybe it has changed its opinion and is trying to get your attention. Maybe you should see if it still works and ask it a question.
Okay.
Tuco, does Tuco have any qua left?
Yes, he's got 12 qua. Oh no, sorry, he's got... Wait. No, yeah, he has 12 qua left.
Do you wish to examine the crystal ball with any of your magic types?
Sure. I don't have many. I've got corporeal, material, spatial, and temporal.
Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead and minus off 2 qua. And you begin to look at it, and you notice something. You notice that the crystal ball has temporal magic imbued in it, as well as spatial magic.
Sounds like it has almost everything.
Sharing mentally what you've perceived, you're aware that Durant perceived mental and spiritual magic, you perceived temporal and spatial magic.
Oh,
spying on
so
us.
no corporeal and no energetic.
Correct. There's a faint resonance of energetic magic, but you feel like that may be what is harnessing the Kwa to, like, it's almost latent to kind of contain the magic within it, but not active.
Let me pose another question. Is it possible that the crystal ball was influenced by the lawn itself?
Guys, I think we've been spied on.
Can we use another item that we haven't used, like Insight of a Father or Love of a Mother, whatever those items were?
You could try.
Or, if there was somebody who maybe had skill with magic who could do some sort of investigation, that might help too.
Fine, I'll go and do some investigation. I'd like to investigate the crystal ball to figure out just what gives.
How much Kwa do you have left?
All the Kwa. I have 20.
What types of magic are you using in this investigation?
I'll do the same and say, oh, I don't have much magic, and then list off 4 different areas, as these guys did. I've got a 4 in energetic, 4 in material, 4 in mental, and then a 2 in spatial.
Mine are only 1s and 2s.
Okay. So you're going to use, at the very least, spatial and mental because you know that the crystal ball uses those.
Mm-hmm.
Minus off 4 Kwa, and then make
Kwa.
a willpower plus magic roll.
A willpower. Okay, this will be fun. That's 8d4. 19.
Okay. Basically, you backtrace this. It is being used to spy on you by the Lan.
Okay. Can I put a cover over it?
Yes, but you also feel like there's a link between the crystal ball and it being used as a means of spying on you and your mental link.
So do I get the impression that this thing's been listening to our mental
Yes.
conversation?
You get with that roll, you are not even the impression. You're certain that pretty much everything that you guys have done since you had the mental link in camp, the Lan probably knows.
Anyway, the lawn it's not the devil dude,
Yes.
right? It is the devil dude?
Yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, so it knows that we're considering betraying it. Wonderful. This is what I was worried that was going to happen, but I didn't want to say it out loud so Bill could hear.
And after completing this effect, your crystal ball is no longer hot and it turns back into a normal glass.
So did it...
So he knows that we know.
Well, hold up. Yeah, so true. Did it... Do I get the impression that it was only when it was hot was when it was getting spied on?
No.
So it's reasonable that I'm assuming that it was listening to everything that we've been talking about for...
You know what? Because you have energetic magic, I'll throw this insight in. You get the impression that it was getting hot because it was being used by someone else against its will. Meaning, like, you were the one attuned to it, and he was basically hacking into it.
So...
It was like a computer that was doing too much shit, and it was getting hot.
That is what happens to computers, yes. So, But wouldn't that stand to reason that it was only getting hot because it only got hot when the person was tapping into it? So were they? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, did they hear any of our conversation an hour or two earlier or whatever?
You are certain that anything dealing with your mental link was probably heard, but you do, I would say that with that roll also, you feel like there's a specific reason why it got really hot at the time that it got really hot.
Oh, great. So not only did they eavesdrop, but now they're angry.
If you recall, no, not so much about anger, but if you recall, Durant had been doing something when you felt this get hot.
Okay. Do I get the impression now that there's no one eavesdropping?
Yeah, you shut it down. You basically, like, you cut the link.
Okay.
Well, I think that means that the crystal ball needs to be sidelined.
I disagree. I just think we need to keep an eye on it. The crystal ball has helped us through a lot of jams. You guys willing to not use it anymore?
When do you think it did that? Did it do it when we were there, or was it able to do from afar? Does anyone remember it touching? Did it ever get to touch your ball?
Nope, I don't think he fondled my ball whatsoever.
So recall that Humphrey consulted the crystal ball when you guys, like, had a sidebar when you were meeting with Allan. But it didn't get hot. In game, it got hot when Durant was doing something. But I very specifically asked the player of Humphrey a series of questions about Humphrey, and that's when it got hot.
There was that delay one time when you asked us something. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Usually it's very quick to respond.
I wonder
Maybe
if
he was
you ask.
toying with it.
Yeah, I wonder if you ask it the same question now, if it would have a different answer.
Oh, that is clever. Okay. I will do so. I'll take out the crystal ball, which now apparently looks normal.
Yes.
And I ask you the same question. Do we even get the guy's name? No, we
No.
didn't, obviously. We don't know, but we didn't come up with anything to call him, did we?
Lon.
Lon. Okay. Is that Lon creature able to be truthful in everything he has told us?
It answers the same way, but it does so immediately.
So yes, it does feel it's been truthful.
Don't you want to ask it if it's okay after that unwanted usage? Your ball was just molested by that thing.
It
That's your
was.
first question?
I can only ask it basically yes or no questions. So
Okay.
yeah. So
So
can I?
you have one more use of it today.
Oh.
Did you want to ask it any other questions?
I can't think of one.
Are you okay? Have you been influenced by this thing?
Well, that's the thing. Now we get into this is a common logical paradox.
Yeah,
Is-
can we trust the...
Can't trust the answer. Right.
Or we ask it something we know is false and see if it answers true.
Yeah. Here we get to logical paradoxes again.
Yep.
I think I'm good for questions for the day.
Okay.
If any of you guys have any questions you'd like me to ask, let me know.
It is nearing dusk. The camp is still very busy. The crew is still working diligently as long as there's light. Some people have broken off to have a quick bite to eat in the mess tent, but most of the crew is working diligently, trying to at least build some barricades in the same kind of north direction towards where those giant skeletons came from.
Can I create food?
Do you have material magic?
Maybe.
If you have high enough material magic, you can create food.
Yes, I have 4.
So you have several options. You could take existing food and just make it multiply.
I feel like.
Or you could, I mean, that's probably the most effective use of your qua.
Yeah, I kind of want to feed everybody. They've all been working hard. They're having having a rough go of it.
So there's
a proper.
There's a huge pot of stew, and half of it has been consumed already, but you can basically refill the pot with stew.
Yeah,
Wouldn't we want to do stuff with preserved goods so that it would last longer for the crew?
Yeah,
the stew is not going to last more than a day.
You could do that, but you would need some kind of container to put it in, which wouldn't be a problem. Like, there are barrels that have been emptied out already. So if you wanted to, like, have Tuco hold up a barrel that has stuff in it, and then you multiply the supply of it, and he dumps it into the other barrel, you could double the preserves.
Can I just make a feast for everybody for dinner?
Yes, sure.
I would like to do that.
Okay,
With, like,
so
any sort of, like, if there's, a deer and roast deer and, like, maybe some fruits and some bread,
you can kind of, you can multiply everything that is in the mess tent. So, there's some loaves of bread you can multiply. There's the stew you can multiply. There's some fruits that they've gathered that you can multiply. So
but I can't conjure stuff out of thin air. It's only stuff, copy paste of what I see.
With Material Magic 4, you could do that.
Yes, I would like to do that.
Okay. You do that. The tables are laid with food. The crew is, again, in awe. Like, sheer awe. They've never seen anything like this. Some of them are a little spooked by this, but the sight of the food in such quantity,
I think they'll get over it.
So how's Gren taking it?
Actually, Gren wouldn't be in the mess. Gren would be busy literally, like, carrying enormous logs over to the guys with saws, who are then cutting those into more reasonable things.
So Gren's job is still to get a bigger stick.
Yeah, he's doing the work of, like, 4 men, basically, each run that he does.
What was my qua hit, by the way?
4.
Yeah.
You, word quickly spreads around that there's this feast, and as the sun sets, Captain Edwards tells everybody to put their tools away, come to the mess tent. He makes a rousing speech to the crew. He honors all of you for your service, your valiance in battle, and he actually says several prayers. He thanks Peshwick for the bounty of this island. He thanks Shias Joel for the calmness of the seas and the calmness of the water and the bounty of the lake and river. He thanks Shias Joel for the reasonable weather that you've had. And you notice that even though he's not a holy man, he just exudes that charisma of a captain, and you see that he has the respect of the crew, and then he raises a toast to all of you, and he says, "Though we may face trials ahead, we are certainly blessed by the gods for the company of our friends and visitors." He says, "Cheers." He raises a goblet, and everybody does so.
Huzzah!
And a round of huzzahs, are spoken as the crew then indulges in this bountiful feast.
You deserve it.
A good hour goes by as everybody enjoys this meal and some drinks. They've tapped a couple of the casks of ale and wine, and after about an hour, people begin to kind of clean up things, and the captain talks with a few of the crew who are going to be on guard duty for shifts, and he kind of deploys them with torches around the perimeter in the camp. And then some of the laborers and crew he sends off to sleep. and then he urges you guys to join him in his tent. You guys join him in his quarters, and he kind of sits down on one of the crates and he says, well, we have done our best for now, and we will have to continue to fortify this camp. What conclusions have you come to regarding this matter and the discoveries that you made today?
I was typically against this, but the more I've learned, if we do nothing or if we waste time looking for other things we're not sure of, we only have 3 days and they're going to attack. So I think our only option is to go into this cave and see what we can find, do our best. Unfortunately.
I think we should buy as much time as possible so that fortifications can be better. So I think we should show up as late as possible to go into the cave.
That's actually a wise decision.
Mr. Humblebottom, how is your ball?
Mr. Humblebottom?
Oh, Master, sorry.
You forget yourself, sir. I take out and inspect my ball.
It seems normal.
My ball
not hot,
remains
it's not gray.
shiny and room temperature.
Yes.
Okay. I guess when we look at Riff and get Riff's opinion.
I'm on board with waiting till the last day, but I don't think necessarily the last minute. Maybe as the sun starts to go down, just so there's the last rays of the sun are coming from one direction, which I have no idea what it is. But yeah, I like the idea of
It's that direction.
doing as much good here as we can to prepare for what may come, and then getting up there with a few hours to spare.
I like that. So, Bill, why don't we plan to spend the next couple days getting the place as fortified as possible, right? And then right at the end is our plan to meet up and commit to doing it.
And that includes consecrating as much as I possibly can around the encampment.
Okay, so I like this idea. We're going to do a montage. I know what the crew and the captain's working diligently. They're the laborers. They're all doing that stuff. I'm going to ask each one of you to just summarize what you're doing during those days. We'll start with Durant. So you mentioned consecrating the camp.
As much as I possibly can over that period of time.
I'm going to have you make a perception plus religion roll.
Uh, 16.
Okay. In the time that you have been in this place, you have learned some things about the gods. And you've learned some things about how they work. You very much have the impression that the degree to which you venerate the gods has some effect on whether or not your prayers are answered. And you feel that you have asked a lot of the gods, but you're starting to wonder if you have done enough for the gods.
I see.
So what would Durant do to show veneration for the gods, or to show service to the gods?
Usually converts.
Yeah, so Durant might start, talking to the various people around camp about the virtues of Savak Boku and the fact that he's able to consecrate this land and help protect them maybe comes from the power of Savak Boku, and that they should devote themselves to studying whatever materials exist in the camp and learn what they can about the environment around them within reason.
Okay. Make a willpower plus social manipulation roll.
Oh god, that's gonna go so well. I have four dice, so this will be fun.
Durant is not an advantage.
Durant is not persuasive, but that's a pretty good roll. On 4 dice, that's a 13.
That is a pretty good roll. All right. I'm going to say that you kind of have some breakthrough moments with a few of the crew members who, they're not really learned in the religious knowledge, but as you kind of explain these virtues and these blessings, it's a little bit of a mix of hopefulness that you instill, and that you sense that they are willing to kind of sort of take a little bit of a small, I don't want to say a leap of faith, but they take a small step towards faith, and you're able to kind of help guide them towards how to think about and pray about this. In the course of those days, you continue in your prayers to Savak Boku, other than beseeching Savak Boku to grant you the power to consecrate the lands. What else do you do in your own personal veneration?
So in my personal veneration, I will be sort of reaching out and sharing things with Savak Boku. Perhaps things that would be unknown to Savak Boku, like things of where we came from.
Okay. All right, good. Humphrey, what is Humphrey doing these several days?
Humphrey's using whatever magic he can he has to help do the fortification. So I imagine there will be times when they need extra rope or lashings or metal for this part or whatever, and Humphrey can material magic it into
You have
existence.
material magic level 4?
Yep.
You have the ability to shape stone. You quickly realize that you could probably, just using rocks in the area, you could begin to shape stone walls that would be significantly more strong than the weak wooden barricades that they are struggling to build.
I want to do that right the last day and just do that for them after
You
they've
could
done all
also
that work.
you could also even excavate earth to create kind of trenches. So if you're willing to do this, I'm going to say you spend the next 2 days blowing through your quad to just make like a perimeter wall around the camp and trenches.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You do that to the amazement, once again, to the amazement of the crew. And many of them ask, how is it that you were able to do this? What god do you worship? Is it the power? Does Peshwick give you this control over the land? How do you have this power?
I just eat a lot of vegetables.
Okay, so they're just in awe of this. Riff,
I really want to get them all eating just pure vegetables all the time. It's the vegetables, man.
Riff, what is Riff doing during this time?
So during the days, Riff goes around, usually playing some kind of soothing music mostly towards the crew. I mean, his crew already knows his music, and using his magic for remembrance and you got this, kind of going back and forth to help the crew remember skills and building or whatever they're doing to try to make this place safer, and also just giving them confidence that they can do it no problem. And then the nights he's basically kind of going off by himself and praying to the one that the one would also keep this people in this place safe, and that if there's anything that Riff could do in the one's name that would somehow bring him glory, let's say, please bring insight, right? He doesn't pray in the spirit, he just prays like regular, no magic.
Okay. So I want you to do two things. The first thing is make me a willpower plus magic roll for your constant inspiration and skill boosts. Basically, this is you're just generating an area effect on the crew and the laborers to inspire them, to give them bolstered hope and strength, and then additionally to enhance their repair skills, so that their crafting or repair skills to enhance those.
So that didn't come out great from 7 dice. 10.
Wow.
Okay, I'll say that basically I'll say that the skill boosts don't quite work, but the inspiration does. Like they're able to kind of push themselves above and beyond, and the speed with which they're able to, craft like additional sort of fortifications, not just of walls, but like of the tents and of the camp structures itself, right? So like,
yeah,
maybe they have, been able to build several small like wooden cabins, like log cabins.
I'll take that.
You've kind of bolstered the morale of the entire camp. The second thing that I wanted you to do was to make a perception plus religion roll.
Oh wait, actually, it's 10.
Okay.
Which out of 4 dice is much better.
So you also, similarly to Durant, get the impression that, and again, you've learned some of this as well, narratively, that Upai Vasei Hoof wishes to be known and to be venerated and to be thanked. And you get the sense that this is a calling for you in an evangelical sense, an opportunity to share with the crew and with the laborers the strength, the wisdom, the omnipotence of Upai Vasei Hoof.
Oh, wow.
Make a willpower plus social manipulation roll. Wow.
Made up for it.
You all right, by like day 2, you're basically having like Bible studies. Like you have like any time that the laborers like take a break for like lunch, you're like pontificating about like the greatness of Upai Vasei Hoof and talking about like the importance of, venerating the gods and truly believing in his power to guide us and to protect us, and that, and you lead like prayers and people join in and they seem actually invested in it.
Yeah, we have a holy war between Durant and Riff.
Well, remember
Durant will lose at this point because
It's
I
a
have
bake-off.
dice.
Remember that when Edwards was kind of giving you the basics, that he did say that it's not so much that people believe in like just one god and they're competing, that there is kind of a pantheon sort of approach. But Riff, your instinct is that because you called specifically for like the one, your instinct is that somehow Upai Vasei Hoof is maybe part of that pantheon or above it, perhaps. You're still not sure.
I think Riff would point out, just because the one might be an oldie, he can still be a goodie, right? Just because there's newer gods you could follow after doesn't make him irrelevant. So remember this when you're thinking about what he says.
And you have a deep impact on, I'm going to say like 50% of the crew and laborers now are like beginning to have faith, and you notice them like, in the morning, like saying like quiet prayers to themselves before they eat their breakfast, and thanking Upaivaseai Hoof, and like you just sense like that combination of like your evangelism plus your inspiration throughout the days, that there's a hopefulness in the camp.
Nice.
Tuco, what would Tuco be doing during this time?
So he wants to do two things. When he sees Humphrey starting to build the defenses, he wants to go and confer with him and use his military strategy to try and help him build giant traps, tank traps, whatever. Use it, traps to be effective against larger creatures.
Okay. So maybe at some point, Humphrey puts some like deep pits out away from the camp, kind of sporadically there, and you rig up some traps with like falling logs, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
And the second thing I want to do is with sailors, I want to set up training camp when they're not working, to hand-to-hand combat, martial arts, in case it gets really in close and dirty. And I'm going to like tell them, yes, it's very important to venerate the gods, but they don't want us to just spend our days praying to them. They want us to do work ourselves, and this is the way we can help them, is by working hard every day.
Okay. So I'm gonna say, because they have a variety of weapons. They have some swords, some daggers, some bows, some spears. I'm gonna say mostly though melee is what you're most adept at, and
I'm great with swords too, but
yeah, well, melee weapons is swords in general. So anything hand to hand with weapons, not so much the martial arts, but they go ahead and make a willpower plus melee roll. So you should have, I think you have 6 dice in that. Okay. You are able to actually teach multiple sessions, and throughout the few days you're able to teach like 8 of the laborers who previously really didn't have a lot of experience, the basics of how to defend themselves, how to parry an attack, how to thrust, how to slash, and you kind of get some of the laborers a little more training in melee weapons. So after this montage, you guys are busy for this period of days. The camp looks completely different now, with the perimeter wall, with the pits, with the trenches, with the traps, and even inside of the camp, some of the structures now being more fortified than just cloth or canvas covered tents, but actually having like wooden walls and thatched roofs and stuff. It has taken on an incredibly bolstered appearance, and you guys feel and you sense that the crew and laborers feel a great pride in the accomplishments, as well as a much better sense of security for the camp. And by the end of the 3rd day, it is like, I'll say, late afternoon. And you guys know that the clock is ticking. Is it your intent to go to the mountain and to convene?
Absolutely. Let's check in with Estroff. And has he been seen this time, retcon?
Totally forgot. Yeah, well, I'm going to retcon this.
Estroff in the studio.
So Estroff discovered or rediscovered how to heal himself. And he tells you that he's like, yeah, I've come to understand. It's different from curing my wounds, but I still now see that it's just another part of my body, and it's simply something that must be mended, and I feel much better. And through the course of those days, he would have helped out too. You notice that although he doesn't wield the same degree of material magic, that when it comes to dealing with the natural world, he seems to have sort of recovered some of his druidic abilities. And you see that he's done some stuff kind of on his own outside of the perimeter, where he's made like hedges of like thorny bushes grow up between trees, and sort of creating like these natural barriers that could slow down opponents who are trying to come towards the camp. And he's done, he's like manipulated the root systems of trees to kind of come up to form these like natural fences at different places. So he also kind of stays busy. But in the afternoon of the last day, Estrov tells you that he will stay behind at the camp with Edwards, because if something does happen, he's confident that he can transform into a bear and have much greater ability to fight off any potential threats. And as it is your intent to go to the mountain, do you walk there? Well, it would take a really long time. So I'm going to assume that you're going to fly there.
Yeah, Riff is happy to use however many charges of his necklace that we're saving on our claw.
Okay, so you guys save your quad on the last day, and Riff concentrates on the necklace. You fly to the mountain, and you arrive on the cliff landing, seeing the circle of stones and seeing the Lan sitting in the circle, looking kind of ambivalent, sort of like neutral, just looking at you as you arrive. And the sun is just about to set on the horizon to the west. And he looks at you and he says, "So, have you come to a decision?"
Say, we're in.
Sorry, I was half expecting you to say something completely different.
Says you will go into the cave. You will recover the orb.
We will.
And have you chosen the reward, or do you wish to wait until you have recovered it?
We have not chosen yet. We will still discuss what we do with the reward.
He says that is sensible. I cannot fault you for that. I will give you my word here and now, upon my blood, that I will swear, should you recover the orb and hand it to me, that I will grant you the wish of your choice that is within my power, to transport you to another place if that is your desire, or to, if you wish to stay here, to gift you with a significant gift.
Okay, so Riff at this moment remembers his plan and looks to Durant, and he's like, nods, thinking that Durant will remember the mind shield to put on Riff. Thinking that we agreed to this plan. Hope I'm not messing everything up here.
He already knows because he was spying on us.
Yes, but
he knows your plan.
Because he knows doesn't mean it can't work.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
I want to see what happens.
Can we retcon the fact that Durant would have already given Riff the necklace?
Yeah, that's fine.
And
you
Riff,
talked about it.
And Riff wanted to use Ghost Sight so he can see the spiritual version of this guy.
Okay.
All right. So
the black amorphous blob still swirls around the spiritual entity of him.
Yeah. So Riff steps forward
While this is going on, Durant is going to try to run a distraction here, and he's going to hold out a vial for the guy's blood.
He says, I was simply going to swear it, but certainly. He says, would you like to make the cut yourself? And he holds out his hand, like with his wrist open towards you.
This is not normal behavior.
It's all going to pot.
His wrist does not pass over the ring of stones, though. So you would have to reach in to cut his wrist and then hold the vial underneath it.
Okay, could I potentially grab on and give a little tug to get the wrist a little over, or is he going to resist that too much?
Oh,
I'm not gonna yank on the guy's arm, but I'm gonna try and
End
pull
up
it.
fighting this guy right here and now with your
Okay.
antics.
So you do that, and you notice that when you do that, like his hand and wrist kind of go over the plane of the stones as you're holding it. And he's like looking at you, and he's like, well, are you going to do it?
I do.
Okay. You nick his wrist, and you see that his blood is not red. It is black.
Okay.
And it begins to drip out, and you hold the vial underneath
Yeah,
it.
I capture it in the vial. Yep.
Beautiful color, by the way.
Just like
Okay.
And when it fills the vial, he then takes his wrist and he licks it, and you notice the wound is gone.
All right. So at that point, Riff's had enough. He's like, hearken to me. And he's staring at the spirit image of this thing. And so, like, hopefully he'd be able to tell if it's actually paying attention to him directly or not, or just kind of...
You see the blob kind of shift over
a little bit.
and kind of push outward and, like, look at you. It's still kind of swirling, but it's looking at you.
All right. So Riff is like, I am a truth seeker and a servant of the One. In the name of Upai Vasei Oof, I command you to tell me your name, Lon. It was sort of more guttural version than I can do.
That was epic. I'm trying to think of what role this would be. So I think it's... Is it willpower plus religion, or is it willpower plus magic? Willpower plus religion, because you are invoking a god.
The One, mind you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna be willpower plus religion.
All right. No, 15. Not that that makes a big difference.
15. Specifically, what did you ask him?
I command you to tell me your true name, Lon.
we're about to really
In the
mess
name
up
of,
Belz.
in the name of Upai Vasei.
You see that the blob kind of shudders and it sort of like flares out, and then it concentrates, and it's no longer an amorphous blob. It becomes like a solid sphere of this black ooze, and it sort of slowly rotates, almost like an orbit. And you hear a voice in your head, and it says, Jukes Visai Zue Op Wulai Vajai Upai Vasei Hoof.
Well, I recognize that last part there.
And that is where we'll end this episode of the Dads. Tune in to the next episode to find out
What just
what
happened?
happens next, everybody. Thank you, as always, for liking and subscribing. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Well, hello, and welcome to Bill Allan World. I am Wizzy, the Wizard. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. Tune in to the next episode of whatever show you were just watching, and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that, because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.